Hey there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Friday night, and I'm glad to have you here with me. Here's the question for the evening. Have you ever been late or you just didn't express appreciation and gratitude to some other people because the words wouldn't come to you? You know, you wanted to do it, you intended to do it, but you didn't quite get it done because the words didn't come. Well, today let's cover how generative AI can be used to write those personal messages to consistently acknowledge and show appreciation for others in ways that mean something to them and to you. That helps you be stronger at building and growing your relationships with intention and not being haphazard. Welcome to Purposeful Productivity. Hey, I'm Florence. I serve purpose driven leaders by sharing and showing strategies, tactics, processes that help you remove friction in your productivity system. And I do that through video and personal coaching. If you happen to be new here, go ahead and put new in the comments so I know that you're new and I can greet you and the rest of the community can greet you. And I'm glad to have you in the building. For the rest of the live tribe, I am so glad you're here with me this evening. And for that magical replay crew, thank you for watching after the fact. And I'm going to invite you to leave a comment down below about using generative AI or asking a question about a case to use generative AI. So let's see who's in the building with us this evening. Of course, we have with us Frank Jackson. Thank you, Frank, for being in the building and being in the lounge with us this evening. And of course, we have the emotional CEO. Thank you, designer extraordinaire, for all of that you do for making me look good because we always say Florence ain't got no design sense whatsoever, but you make it work, so I appreciate you being here in the building. And of course, yes, an OG. Hey, Roy, how you doing? Tech Troublemakers in the building. Roy, I have made a note to go back and watch your show that you did on Tuesday again because I took notes, but I want to take notes and clean mine up because you dropped some gems on Tuesday night. And welcome, Inanea. You were supposed to let me know about the question I asked you about, so I need an answer to that question, ma'am. I need an answer to that question about you serving the community over here. So we're gonna dive right into the content this evening. And see, I'm still doing it, y'all. I'm still doing it. I forget and leave stuff on the screen, but it's okay. It is okay. So let's jump into some of these strategies. And first up, I'm going to talk about some practical use cases for using AI to express gratitude. Generative AI, I'm going to give you some examples that you can use it for because one of the things that I've found in this, and the very first one is the first one I started using. Yes, you did miss a question. I'll come back to that. But I started using this and I liked it because of a particular task I had for some volunteer work. So most of these are things that I personally use it for. They're not things that I just read about. I'm actually using it in these ways. And that's important for me to share with you. And as we go through, what you will find out is that I'm not doing anything super complicated. Because when you try to for me, try to get too complicated, you spend more time trying to do the thing and learning how to be complicated than just getting the work done that you need to get done. So, what are some of these examples? The first one is thank you emails. And this is for gratitude and appreciation, this is the one that I started with because I am supporting an organization as a volunteer. And one of the tasks is to write guests who come to that organization to write regular guests a thank you note. And you want them to be different. You don't want to just say thank you. That's boring. And you don't want it to be long because people are not going to read War and Peace as a thank you note. And I wanted it to be creative. And so I started using generative AI to craft those thank you messages, different ways of saying thank you and appreciation for what the person had done. And I'll share a sample script later. So this was the first way I started using it, and I still use it this way today. The second way is showing a collaborator gratitude, and that is when someone comes and supports me on this show and other things that I'm doing, we're collaborating. Maybe we're putting together a presentation together, similar to thank you. And this, again, it's about saying thank you and expressing gratitude. Is I'll write what I think I want to say. So this is how I do it. I don't just say write something for me. I often will say, I'll write what I think I want to say, and then I use the prompt and say, write this using the information that I've already written. So it's using what I've written, even if it's boring and not particularly poetic, but it's using what I've written out of my own brain with my own fingers as the starting point. The next one is if you ever have to give a speech, and I did this this week because I was acknowledged for something and I needed to do a little quick thing to say thank you for recognition. And I just used it to help me polish my language of that speech just a little bit. And so that's another way. If you ever have to say thank you, you've gotten a raise, you've gotten recognition, you have gotten an award, people for whatever the reason, you're giving a little thank you speech. That's a great one. Community support. This one is really good, especially for those of us who are content creators and we're building a community. Saying thank you to your community, those people who show up like you all. You show up, you give me support, you give me ideas, you answer questions, you share what's happening with you to say thank you. This is one that I've started doing a little bit inside of my private community that you're welcome to join. I want to do more of it in community post here in YouTube. So you'll see me doing more of this and you'll see more of those messages coming out, and they don't all say the same thing. That's the key. Hello, 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 Yolanda. Customer appreciation for those who are small business owners and you have customers and you want to show your customers appreciation. That's another really good use case. All of this boils down to you want to say thank you. You want to say, I appreciate you. You want to recognize the person for something they've done or a relationship you have. And these are specific ways that you can use generative AI. And I'm going to share some prompts with you and just general appreciation notes. Now, this one I do use every week, and I'll tell you how I use it. My teams, not the software, the people that I work with every week at the office, my habit is on Monday, I post an appreciation note for them to start the week off. And it can get a little challenging, you'll say, to come up with different ways of saying, I appreciate you. Let's have a great week. Um, Last week was great. You did, phenomenal when you did this thing, that thing, or the other thing. So I will now use Copilot to help me polish that language. And I still, every Monday, I post those messages and it helps to build a relationship with those teams, even when we have tough weeks and really long weeks. That's one thing that they all look for, and they have now come to expect it because I've been doing it so long. So this is a really, really useful way of using generative AI to help you build relationship and keep those going. Another one is social media posts. This one recently started doing. I'm doing more on LinkedIn specifically, more communicating. And after a while, I just, my brain says, I don't know what words to use to respond to something somebody in my network has written. So I will throw um, some what I call throwaway text into Copilot or ChatGPT, whichever one, and let it come up with some ideas. Now, we're going to talk. I don't take it the way it gives it to me, it just to get my brain going. But if you're acknowledging someone or saying thank you or congratulating someone or promoting someone or offering to help somebody, you can use generative AI to help you form those messages to get you started. What it does is it eliminates the blank page where you're like, I have no idea what to write. I know someone who cannot start writing from a blank page. And prior to using generative AI, the individual would ask other people to write a draft for her. And then she would want to then edit. Well, now she can write her own draft using generative AI. Pick a model. We talked about them last week. There are a plethora of them. Pick something to get her started, not have that blank page, and just deliver the message. And she can tweak it to heart's content. Employee recognition, I've talked about it. The corporate environment where I am, we're really big on employee recognition. So if you're in a place where that's something that's important, and again, how many different ways can you say thank you and I appreciate you? W- Different messages you want to put out to people, and especially when you need to do it regularly. And then your boss. Now, your boss may not be your paid job. Your boss could be somebody you're working with in volunteer work. Your boss could be, you can change boss with coach. It could be your coach. It could be somebody that you network with. But just again, a way to acknowledge a person and show appreciation. These are just some examples of ways that you can think about in situations, we call them in the industry use cases, and volunteers. When you have volunteers or you're a volunteer, think about, how do I say, I appreciate you? I got your back. Thank you. Great job. How many different ways can you come up with to express those messages of gratitude that make sense to the person? So, if any of these use cases have resonated with you, let me know which one. Put it in the comment. Which one resonated with you? If you've used any of them, which one have you used already? I use almost every single one of these regularly to help me message to people. And it's because I don't want to say the same words in the same way over and over and over and over again. I want to mix it up and be able to deliver something that makes sense to someone, but it's genuinely me. So that's number 1. Just think through the use cases, make a list of them, or just start paying attention to when you need to say, thank you and show appreciation for someone at all the different places in your world, in your job, in your volunteer work, in your business, in your content creation, in your ministry, all the different places. You can just simply do something that doesn't require you to buy something, but it does require you to be intentional about communicating with, because there are a lot of people to communicate with. So, what are some examples? I said I'd share some with you, and these are some examples. I'm going to fly through them. You'll see that they. Hey, Philip, just joking. Okay, I'll go back and find out what you're joking about. Um, but I'm going to fly through some of these examples, and I'm going to point out a couple of things that where it's placeholders, so you can change what's in there. So the first one is writing an email to a colleague, and again, I use it all the time. So a colleague, you can put the person's name, you can put the person's role, you can put a group of people in there, and then be sure you describe what it is that they did. What is the description, so that and you're telling it literally, your instruction is write a personal and warm thank you email to Philip, who helped me with his devotionals that he put out. That's a very clear and specific example, and it'll work. I'm going to encourage you, if you want these, let me know and I'll make them available on my website. Another one is craft a heartfelt LinkedIn post expressing gratitude for whoever the person is, responding to whatever it was about. We talked about this. So maybe somebody said, "Hey, I got a new certification." Maybe somebody says, "I got a promotion." Maybe somebody says, "Hey, I've just started a new role." Maybe somebody puts a new article out. One of the gentlemen in my network is somebody I have an enormous amount. Well, all the people I have enormous amount of respect for, but this is somebody that I talk with regularly, and he regularly has articles come out in Forbes.com, like consistently, and every time he puts a article out and he posts that it's coming out, I want to say something to him about that article and about what he's doing. And I don't want to say, "Hey, great job for putting another article in Forbes." That's boring. Like, who would read that? Compose a sincere appreciation note to a person for and what they did. If the person did something for you, had a colleague who uh, polished off a deck for me. I talked about this person last week. Afterward, I used actually this prompt to write a thank you note to her. And because of the way we do things, we also write messages that go into their performance system. I polished that up and added some content to it and posted it as feedback in her performance system so that her career coach would see not only that I appreciated, but exactly what she did. She doesn't have to think about at the end of the year, did Florence appreciate what I did? I've already shown her and demonstrated it. Help me write a reflective, and now this one is more personal and it's introspective. For those who know me, I journal every day. I write something about what's happened in my life, how I feel about it, what I've learned, especially what I've learned, because I'm learning something every day, and what I'm grateful for. And sometimes I look at it and I go, this is about boring. And I will take and I will put something into Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, whichever one I happen to be in that at the moment, and just put a little detail in there. I'll give it a little bit more information than this, but just help me write a journal entry so that it's not so boring and seeing the same thing over and over again. Draft a heartfelt speech. This is a prompt for that. We talked about it. So you're getting an award, you're getting recognition. You need to give a, short 2 to 3 minute speech that you received. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's in business, maybe it's in community service, maybe it's in ministry. Wherever it is, maybe it's in your family, but wherever it is, that 2 to 3 minute, help me write it. So these I could keep going. Um Philip is blowing up the chat. There are lots more. I don't want to wear you out, but I've got probably another 10 or 15 that I could go through. I think I've given you the idea. If you want to see this whole list and you want to get a copy of it, put it in a comment and I'll make it available on the website and I will put a link in the description so that you can just go right in the description of the channel and it'll be down here and you can just grab it. You can grab the examples and then you can modify them for your own use. So we've got some new folks who have shown up in the building and I want to say hello to them. Hello, Mr. Hicks. Sir, you supposed to be coming on the show this month. Do I need to write you an appreciation in advance and a collaboration to get you to come? And Philip says this would have been helpful when reviewing vendors and their strengths and areas of focus for improvement. I would love to hear more about that, Philip. How in the world could that be used to help evaluate vendors? That's an interesting use case. You have to make me think about that one because I'm doing some vendor evaluation right now. So thank you for putting that on my radar. Roy says, I have used it to write a note to someone to make sure I didn't write what I really wanted to write. Oh, you had to pull yourself back. You were like, "Oh, I went too far. Let me come on back." um, oh my goodness. Steve Worthy, sir. So glad to have you in the building. I got three, three of them in the building. Y'all, you'll know in February what I'm talking about. Three of them in the building. All right. So anytime, James Hicks, every Friday, I'm ready for you. Whenever you're available, come on through because you got this AI thing down big time. So the last piece that I want to share today, and I forgot to turn something. Let me do one thing here, y'all, and then it'll be taken care of. We have talked about using AI and all those prompts, whatever tool you use, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or Copilot or Llama, whichever one you use, per- Perplexity, um, Voila, they go on and on and on. Whichever one you decide to use, it's going to spit out some language that may not sound exactly like you. And you want what you send to sound like you. Like, I don't want someone to read something and say, Florence would never say it that way. This is not going to come out of her mouth. So you can use a couple of strategies to help you take that message or that content or those words that get output and change them so that they're you. They are your spirit, they're your soul, they're your sauce. So I want to share just a couple of these ideas with you on how to do that. One is share a personal story about whatever that is. Maybe it was you stayed plugged in together working through a deck for 4 hours together. Mention specifically what that thing is with that person. Be very personal about it. People remember stories and they remember ones that are personal to them. Another one is change the language so that it's everyday language that comes from you. This is one that I'm really working on because I tend to speak in complex language. And I've had so many people tell me, and I am working on not speaking in complex language. And it's hard for me because it's the way I've talked my entire life, but I'm working on it. So if you're not a person, if you talk very easygoing, then use easygoing words. If you speak formally, use formal words. Whatever language fits you, I say every day, that has to be every day for the way you speak, not for the way someone else speaks. And the last one kind of goes like with the first one, shared experiences. A personal story, and even more powerful, is a shared experience with the other person. Example, if I were to write something about Steve Worthy, a note to Steve Worthy, I could talk about him being on the show and giving me advice. I could talk about watching him and learning from him. I could talk about being in his live stream. If I talked about, shared a note with James Hicks, I can talk about me using his focus book, his planner, all the time and what I get out of that. So those are shared experiences. Why? He wrote the book. He knows it, he uses it, I use it. It's a shared experience. So remember these little tips and don't just take whatever a generative AI tool spits out to you and copy and paste it and use it the way it gives it to you. Anyone who knows you will know those are not words from you because they listen to you and they interact with you all the time. All right. So I want to say hello to Mr. Steve Worthy. So glad to have you in the building. And Philip just put, you keep bringing them along. We had a global IT support contract reviews. I wanted a positive report on individuals and teams. I had data and anecdotes. I need to put it all together. A leader I respected always said, tell a story. Yes. And thank you. Your use of AI would help me tell a story. Well, thank you so much, Philip. You have stories to tell on your content with your content on your channel, so you can use it to help you build some of that out as well. If you have a question, it's Frank put, I think it was Frank, put in the comments, please go ahead and put a Q colon in front of it and ask a question. While you're doing that, I want to share with you in a couple of weeks, we're going to be officially launching the lounge. It is a private space where you, as the community, can. I'm sorry, somebody's in the lounge making faces at me. Um, where you can come in and join and be here with us. And then after the show or after the event or whatever we're doing, we can ask questions. What happens in the lounge, kind of like Vegas, what happens in the lounge stays in the lounge. Um, there may be occasions when some people I know, James Hicks, Steve Worthy, are invited to come in. Yolanda, just saying, Philip, Roy, y'all out there. Y'all know more than me. So coming in and sharing with people in the community about things that you're doing and how you actually do what you do so that it's less friction for them. We can all learn from each other. And I wanted to create a space that's private, but still allow us to practice the skills that we have and we're growing and come together periodically to do that. So the lounge will open up in a couple of weeks. More information will be coming out. I'll drop some things in the community and links in the description so that you can go ahead and arrange to come on in and join us. I think I'm going to start it like once a month, although really truly it's open every time I go live or I'm doing a recording. But I'm going to start it once a month for you to come and join. So if you have questions, let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. I'm going to check and see if anyone has asked a question. No one has asked a question. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to close this party up tonight. I have enjoyed being here with you all, and I pray that this content has been helpful for you. I want to give you meaningful and very specific ways to use these tools and not make it so complex that it's frightening for you. And also not make it take so much time. We'll talk about that later, that it's taking more time than it's worth. In other words, the return you're getting is not worth the effort and the time that you're putting in. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and watch the video that's going to be here because it'll be last week's show, but it really digs into what generative and conversational AI is. And we will see you over there, and let's get into some of these strategies, y'all. Good night, everybody.